AM Events are specialists in party, wedding and event planning management. So for more information, to make a booking, pop down to their showroom at Unit 2, Foundry Street, Atlas Industrial Estate in Glasgow. Boom, we're on. Today's guest, we've got Sam Samworth. How are we, Sam?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. First of all, mate, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Ex-prison officer. Worked
I am.
in one of UK's most notorious prisons, Strangeways, for over 10 years, working with some serious criminals, serial killers, rapists. You've seen a lot of bad stuff inside and out, but we'll go right back to the start, Sam, kind of where you grew up and how it all began for you.
Right, me, born and bred in Sheffield. As far back as I can remember, my mum was on her own from me being about 4, my sister being about 2. Tony, my dad, we call him Tony because a dad is somebody who's there for you, and he never was. So Tony suits. Mum struggled to bring us up. We saw me granddad and grandma and granddad, Tony's mum and dad and his sister. They were really good to us until they passed. But, you know, we had a lot of love as kids. You know, I've seen people on your podcast who've had some horrendous childhoods. We didn't have a lot of stuff. You know, if you need a pair of shoes for school, then you're on your arse flat for a month. Do you know what I mean? My mum went out, but we had loads of love. We had quite a big family like you did then. You know, one of my nan's sisters, my Aunt Frida, used to bake and stuff like that for everybody. And it was, I think it was a quite happy childhood. But the thing that sticks out most was your please and thank yous, respecting your elders, opening doors for women, that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? That was instilled into us. If you go to somebody's house and they offer you something, accept it, even if you don't like it, that sort of thing.
Yeah. How was were you in trouble yourself or anything as a boy?
No, pretty good kid, really. There were days, James, I've got a few years on you, when, you know, as a sort of, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old, lived at Lodgemore, which has got to be, it's got to be the best housing estate in Europe. It's beautiful. It's going out to Rivelin Valley towards Derbyshire. And me, John and Jimmy and John's dog would be off on moors 4 years, all day, you know, when you could let your kids go. My mum knew where we were going and we'd just be up on moors all day together. So,
because you played a bit of rugby?
Late starter. I fucking hated school. I struggled with school, me. I weren't one for doing homework and stuff like that. I just detested the whole thing. About 15, started playing rugby. I basically got sacked from football, told I was dirty and, you know, rugby lads, because I was a big lad, had been saying come and join them.
What height and stuff were you at 14, 15?
I don't know, I was quite tall. I wasn't the biggest, you know, when you look back at the school photographs when I was 17, but, you know, I was probably maybe 5'10", something like that, maybe 14 stone or whatever. But it definitely saved my life, and it definitely, you know, through my 20s and that kept me on straight and narrow, so
yeah,
it was a good thing.
Because you sent me your book. Well, you sent me an audio form because you've obviously been watching my podcast.
Yeah,
and
I've done my history as well.
I don't read books. I do audio books. So you sent me Strangeways, which I listened to on the car coming down. Great story, by the way.
Thank you.
A lot of people maybe think it's all about the prison life and what it was like working with terrorists, serious criminals, but it's more about your own life, your personal journey.
How we were brought up, you know, and sort of how you were made. Yeah, how you turn out or whatever.
Because it says your mum passed away also when you were young.
It was a really strange time. Up to about 15, like I say, really good. Then my stepdad come on scene. At that time, I banged heads with him. Not literally, you know.
Were you protective of your mum?
Not so much, I don't think. You know, he tried. Well, when he come on scene, I think he tried to be a good dad, and he was the nearest thing to dad we ever had. Do you know what I mean? Apart from family looking after, you know. But you know, as a teenager and that, about shaving and stuff, he's telling me how I'm gonna do it and things like that. But he was really good for my mum. And he looked after us. We never really had anything. Didn't have a bike or anything like that until I was sort of 15. So, but it's just one of them things, isn't it? You know, I was in a funny place. And then just before my 21st birthday, so it would be September 26th, I didn't know that date till my sister told me this year. My mum died just before my 21st birthday, yeah. She was only 38. Up until me being 15, 16, like I say, she had 1 or 2 boyfriends, but pretty much devoted her life to me and my sister. And all it was, she was a healthy lady. She fell down one day, banged her knee, didn't feel so good. On settee a couple of nights, doctor come and see her. Went to hospital. She was in hospital for about a week. I only went to see her twice. The first week I went, you know, I knew she was going to die me. At that point, she'd gone in hospital because there was something going on, you know, like shock from the fall. But I remember coming home on my motorbike, took my helmet off, and I knew she was going to die. Which, you know, at that point, I'm sure people weren't thinking that. And then the second week I went, the day I went, she went into a coma and never come round. But within, a few months, I married a lass I was with then. I've got nothing against that lass. I was just in a really bad place. And within a month of doing that, I fractured my skull playing rugby. So, you know, 21 to 22, I was just in a fucked up way. The first marriage lasted about 6 months.
Yeah. Do you think that was for a wee bit of security, just lonely?
Ended up with 2 mortgages. No bridging loan then. I actually had 2 mortgages working, lost my job, lost both houses, I don't know, 17 county court judgments, something like that. And I had sort of 2 years in wilderness, put a lot of weight on, probably got up to 23 stone.
You were homeless for those 2 years?
Right. No. Probably 3 or 4 months, I had no income. I could have gone to my nan's every day, yeah. But I didn't, because I was a bit proud. I was just starving. You know, my mates now and again had sort of sought me out or whatever. That's what I said in the book. I've been starving, me, and I was. We were in a bad way, me and my dog, and I've been homeless, not together. I mean, probably Christmas to 83, 84, sad as this may sound, we were in a house that we're going to get repossessed January. Got my dog. We got no eating. It was fucking freezing. It was Christmas Day, we had nothing. I actually followed Milkman. They were dropping stuff on steps then, Express Dairy, you know, sausage, turkeys, cream and stuff like that. I think we took a bag of potatoes. Not all from the same person either.
Mix it up.
Yeah. You know, packet of sausage here, bag of potatoes there, some cream or whatever, just so we got something to eat. Not long after that, I got a job. My dog went to my uncle who looked after her, which I was pleased about because, you know, I cared about my dog. And then I started sort of rebuild my life. However, I've got to mention Alan Brookfield. He's a lad I played rugby with, Sheffield Tigers Colts when I was 18. He like I say, I could have easily, I didn't know anyone with drugs then, I didn't know anything about drugs, I didn't have money for alcohol, I just sort of tortured myself emotionally. Like I say, I got really good family, but I won't go to them.
Pride?
You know, yeah, pride, of course it is. So he turns up one day, he says, right, come on, you're going to play rugby again. So I was a big fat knacker. He come every day, took me on Winkerbank Hill. Anyone who lives in Sheffield, it's above Meadowhall. And he had me running up and down hills with fucking bricks and shit like that, and him on his back, and got me back fit, back playing rugby. Away you go, like, bit of focus in life again.
How bad was the brain damage when you got your head injury?
At the time, I went to casualty. I remember it really well. Young lad on other team, fast as fuck on wing. I was a young flanker. He was running down wing, going to score a try. I went in, tackle him. His head went down with heads. He went to hospital in an ambulance, phoned an ambulance. Everyone thought I was all right. I played for about another 10 minutes, and then I come off, bit of an headache. Anyway, that lad ended up on sort of life support and that. He did come through it with no injuries, which, you know, I'm really glad about, because at the time, that were bothering me. But when I went to casualty, they discharged me Saturday night and said if I got any problems to go back. But one of my eyes weren't moving. So as you look about, it was just stationary. Saw this doctor, he didn't think anything wrong. Monday morning, I saw a consultant called Strachan at Hallamshire, went in to see him, sat me down, got his pen out like they do, come out with some Latin name. What was wrong with me? He says, when did you do this? I said, Saturday. He says, what did you do Saturday night? A few beers. What did you do Sunday night? A few beers. He says, well, you're not dead. So he sent me for a scan, got a big clot on my brain. He says, you'd have been in hospital 2 or 3 days under observation. It's the fact you're walking and living now. I'm not going to keep you in. So it took about 2 years to get my vision back properly. And then, like I say, I got back into my rugby. So
after that, once you started getting fit again, started back playing, you became a bouncer?
That was a bit later on, towards the end of my engineering career. I got in a lot of bother when I got big lad and I was out working. That
Steroids?
No, fat, eating food, mate. Steroids. No, I've never taken any of them, mate. I was just big, but I got in a lot of fights and I ended up in court 4 times, drunk and disorderly. They used to charge you. Back then, you'd get nicked for fighting, drunk and disorderly, £80 fine and a caution. The 4th time I was in front of the judge, I knew him because I'd been in front of him about 3 months before. The lad next to me was a miner who had been scrapping with. He became a good mate, him. So what you'd be in the dock, literally, head down like, and he said, lift your head up, young man. He says, do I know you? I says, I don't think so. He says, but what he basically said, he said, I understand, you like a few beers or whatever, but if I see you again, then, I'll be giving you a sentence. So that was my Scarborough warning. I just put everything into my rugby then.
Was that the catalyst for you to kind of get your shit together?
Yeah, it was. It was really. By that time, I had actually, been in engineering. When I lost my houses and that and lost my job, I've been working at kitchen knife manufacturers like... you go about sexual harassment and that then. There was about 30 lads worked there and about 450 women. Just got sexually abused every day. Not literally, but, they bend you over a machine and dry scuttle you, some 50-year-old woman and that. But,
because you're in a bit of bother as well when you were on the doors. Did a couple of heavies come down?
Well, right, listen,
guns?
let me tell you about bouncing, right? I might look the part. I am not a hard man, right? What I'm good at is talking. So my landlady, Julie, who were a lovely lass, like I said, despite my looks, I get on with people really well. Like, so I went to give this lass a massage. I need to tell you this as well because it wasn't like that.
Yeah, a bit extra cash in the background.
No. I did my Reiki, right? I've been in engineering. I got married again, a really nice lass. Like I said, we just went to separate ways. We just, we didn't fall out or anything, but like you do in life, people want to go a different way or whatever. So I was at a bit of a loss then. So I went to college. One of my friends, physio at Rugby Club, Alison, says, why don't you do a massage course? I'm running the course. So I knew her, so I went and did the course. That were all females apart from myself. Then did aromatherapy course, Indian head course. I did my Reiki 1 and 2. So I sort of got into the complementary therapies route. Got myself a little place. There was a lass on the course who had an hairdresser's. She offered me a room. And away you go. Massaging ladies from downstairs. She put offers on. Come and get your hair done, blow dry or whatever, and free back massage upstairs. She paid me for them. So I did that for 2 years. Are you not going to ask me whether anyone ever asked for extras? Or, I'm sure you want to, don't you? So
I was going to wait to see where the story went first.
Well, I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to tell you now. In the 2 years, right, really hard as a male, I actually went for a job at a clinic in Sheffield, a therapy clinic. And when I turned up, the woman went, you're a man? I went, yeah, She went, we don't employ men. They're all female clients, all female therapists. But she interviewed me anyway. I never understood that. However... So
happened to all this equal rights and fucking this and that. Do you know what I mean? Women have got a cheek sometimes.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, I had about 10 male clients, a couple from Rugby Club in 2 years, loads of women, young women, old women. Do you know what I mean? it's quite a tough gig for a guy above a, you know, there are only females who come in that salon. So you might get some 60-year-old or some 20-year-old and you're going to give them it nearly came out wrong then. You're going to give them a massage or whatever. So first thing they want to know is, what have I got on and what I ain't? So I always used to give them a little talk, sit down, have a chat, you know, keep your knickers on. You can leave your bra on, but I have to undo it, which is embarrassing for me, so it's better if you don't. And tell them how to lie and cover themselves up with towels. You know, half of them, they'd be popping bra and that before you got out of that room or whatever. So, however, Mike, so like I said, 10 guys coming through the door, that's all. So we get Mike. So the last telling me, Mike is coming for a full aromatherapy massage. About an hour and a half, 2 hours, hot day. Goes through the talk with Mike. Comes upstairs. This guy's laid on bed with a boner on. Right. So let's be professional. Do you know what I mean? So I started this massage, and he says to me, and this guy, you know, at that time I was quite fit. You know, I was probably about, I don't know, 16 and a half stone, playing me rugby, fit as fuck. Says, do you want to massage this? Yeah, you're fucking laughing now. There's none of my mates know this, right? In the salon, I was downstairs in 15 minutes. I said to him something like, put your fucking clothes on. You're paying full price, and I'll see you downstairs. So when I went downstairs, they're all like, you know, what? I told them, took the fucking piss, you know what I mean? And every single day I went in the salon, in my appointments book, it was like Mike, you know, so.
So, Mike, if you're watching,
Yeah.
keep your pants on.
Yeah, so 2 years I got offered extras once, and that was a guy, so there you go.
There you go. So I was just about to say I'm in the wrong industry as well.
So at the same time, I'm doing a massage gig. Julie, who I'm lodging with, this is how I got around the story. Went to give her a massage. We got on. She says, I'm going on holiday tomorrow. Do you want to look after my house for 2 weeks? That's the first time we've met. So I says, yeah. I ended up staying there 3.5 years. Julie worked the doors. Nice lass. So she got me on that one, you know what I mean? At first, I worked in RSVP in Sheffield. Like I say, I'm not a fighter, mate. A lot of doormen. They're not all scrappers.
But you look the part. You look like...
Exactly. So, you know, you've got a bit of a presence. If you can talk to people, it's that sort of thing. Like I say, when you get to know of them, there is some hard bastards, don't get me wrong. But, you know, if you've got 10 doormen, a couple might be able to scrap and rest you back up. Most of the time, you don't end up in, you know, situations like that. However, I was asked by the company to go and work at Anran's. It's a wine bar opposite Northern General, Alhamshire Hospital in Sheffield. Just far enough out of town so you don't get idiots. But you got a lot of football jobs in, the top boys. So we're talking about 40, 50-year-old Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, top boys. And they used to associate together in there. You know, if it was like match day, twice a year, local derby, they'd be kicking shite out of here. In there, very civilised, and they mixed. And there was no one in there to know that they mixed, you know what I mean? Used to get a few people in. Phil Oakey, Human League, like I say, you're a bit younger than me.
I don't know him.
Have you heard of Human League?
Old bastard, yeah. So,
Jarvis Cocker.
I know Jarvis, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
Jarvis
yeah,
Cocker,
yeah.
what a scruffy twat he
Yeah.
was.
I can't believe. So, Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday fans
Top
used to
boys.
drink together.
No, right. When I say fan, these are top boys. These are people who've been around a long time. You know, they might be 6 of one, 6 of other. Match day, like I said, they'd be knocking shit out of each other. They were the proper art. They're like the elite. Do you know what I mean?
Fair play for that, but back in Glasgow, though, there's no way Celtic and Rangers fans.
No way.
Because they would fucking kill each other.
I could talk to you hours about that because, you know, I've got a mate up there who is like Rangers through and through, and he's absolutely balmy.
So's our Stephen.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm not into my football. I just, you know, it is a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest rivalries in the world. It's heavy.
Yeah.
No way they could sit and have a bevy just because no matter if it's Old Firm Day, New Year's Day, Christmas Day, somebody's birthday, they ain't sitting next to each other. It's just pure hatred. Even for family members and that. Some of my family members don't get in the house because of it. Team
Really?
support. Nah, I'm not bad. I'm not bitter. But my family's all mixed. My family's more Rangers, to be fair. But it's people would fall out for years and years over stupid results.
No.
Crazy. Absolute crazy.
Well, moving swiftly on then. There were a few other minor celebrities. I did that about 18 months on my own before they put someone else on. But when I was on my own, they had a local Sheffield gangster. I don't know whether he's still alive now. I'll not mention him just in case because he was a horrible bastard. And his henchman, who was another horrible bastard.
In case he comes to your door asking for a massage.
Well, yeah, quite possibly. Anyway, they turns up one night. So the landlord, who was a nice lad, Neil, he barred him because he was well known in Sheffield. He was an horrible bastard. He used to carry
Knives,
weapons and shit like that. Yeah. And his sidekick was equally, he was well known for cutting people up and that. So they turned up one night, and the bigger of the two, one of them was a bodybuilder, black lad. I don't know, 24-inch arms. He was massive. Stuck a gun in my face. So he says, we're coming in for a drink. I says, oh, all right then, 8.60 an hour, go and get a drink. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I followed him in. Neil saw straight away. He looked at me like, he just rolled his eyes like one at lasses. Anyway, they walked up to the bar. Surprisingly enough, the pub emptied pretty quick. Neil was from Nottingham. He'd had a boozer in Nottingham. Guy walked in with a crossbow. Armed response in Nottingham, less than 5 minutes, all over the place. Dealt with it, yeah. So the 999 in Sheffield, armed response turned up 50 minutes later. Walked up to the door, I'm outside, Neil's having a roll in. That when we first fagged that. He says to me, do you smoke? I says, nah. He gave me an old Allburn or something. Coughed me guts up and I felt really sort of...
Sick?
Yeah, sick, but quite light-headed. It was really pleasant. I decided at that point that I weren't going to have another. I said, I'm smoking, but there you go. Anyway, this copper walks up. He's got all these boys behind him in the van. Where have they? So Neil says, they left fucking 40 minutes ago. We gave the reg number. Yeah. Was it a real gun? Says to me. I said, how the fuck do I know? he says, well, did you get a look at it? I says, you stuck it in my head here. You can still see it mark. Anyway, that were by the by. They did jack shit. They got away with that. I was really shocked by that. But that was pretty much my last gig there. Decided at this time, in fact, I need to tell you. So my mate at this time has got me onto another gig because I work in the doors. The doorman's course was pretty basic, and it's a lot more serious now. He says, I am working, he was a prison officer, at these forensic units, right? They were female units, little mental health hospitals, if you like, specialist. He says, you're good at talking to people. I can get you a job there. So he did. Now, these two units, I'd never seen anything like it. There was one at Chesterfield, one at Mansfield. The one at Chesterfield I worked at most. It was like a little Premier Lodge, Premier Inn, a budget hotel. Maybe 20 rooms upstairs, 20 down. 11 lasses upstairs, maybe 7 down, yeah, and the staff. So the first day, I'm upstairs. I goes upstairs. There was a lovely lady, about 60, mental health nurse. Sat down, about 5 of us. She says, right, who are you? So I told her, what's your experience? Which was like pretty much zero. A couple of healthcare assistants. So we had a bit of a briefing. Everybody does this in mental hospitals. She said, right, there's a lass we're going to deal with first. She's come from another home. She likes to lay in bed all day. She's not doing that here. So what we'll do, the 5 of us are going to go in before we get anyone else, deal with them. If she won't get out of bed, we're going to pick her up on a mattress, put it in the corridor, and then lock her door. And she can go and have a shower because she's got bad personal hygiene. So I thought, okay, fair enough. So we did that. Picked this lass up, refused to get out of bed. As we put her to the floor, she jumped up, twatted the old lady straight in the face, banged me in the nose, spat in someone else's face, and we were in a bit of a fight situation. In mental health then, at that time, I don't know now, with females particularly, what you try and do is just restrain them, not hurt them, Just, like restrict the movement or whatever, stop them in the
Do they get
cells.
injected with anything?
We can talk about that. They used to, way back when.
Just
now,
a jag and ass, bang.
if someone was having a serious psychotic episode, same with prison, if you go back to the 60s and 70s, they get it out and just jab people left, right, and centre. You've had some guys on here who've been on your podcast who've...
In prison.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I've had a lot of people on the other side who fucking hate screws because of the beatings they have received over the years. Listen, there's always two flips of the coin.
Of course there is.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course there is.
There's always, they blame each other, the screws will blame them, they'll blame the screws. But
Right, listen. So I've been asked before why I've got no social media, yeah? Mm-hmm. So there's Messenger. People have found me on Messenger and contacted me. Here's the thing. You've just said it in one. How many people have been to prison in this country, do you think? Thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands. How many are still alive? 60s, 70s, 80s. So you've got all them people that will remember all the bad screws, the brutality. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All their families will remember it. The press has always been negative. Half the people I work with, I fucking hated. Your managers didn't like you. Your governors didn't like you. The two Prison Service Union and POA, Prison Officers Association, the two unions can do fuck all, and government ain't got a clue. So as a prison officer, with a book, why am I going to put myself on? It'd just be hate. I know you've said about hate, you like to take them on. You might get 10 positive comments and then somebody will say something and you like to have a go. I'd be lucky if I got one positive comment once.
You'd think that because, I've looked at your reviews and stuff and everybody sees, it says even on the book as well that you come across as that, but you've got a soft heart.
Well, it's true. People look at you. I probably look like a typical screw, don't I? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why is that? Why the fuck do you all look the same? Do you go to the same hairdressers or do you do this? What is that look? Is there a certain look? Tattoos?
I've
over
always
6 feet?
looked like this. I've played rugby and that. Do you know what I mean?
Feel sorry.
No, I do Reiki. I do Reiki.
I do Reiki as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. You see, reflexology. Complementary therapy.
But there's always that look. It's like the people you surround yourself with, the people you become. I always say it. Is there a certain, because every screw is kind of over 6 feet, no hair, tattoos, kind of look as if
let me
they're
tell
ready
you,
to go.
all right, you might think majority would, but I've said this before. If you've got 1,000 screws, in fact, let's take 100 screws from Strangeways, right? You get somebody who, like a ballet dancer, I'm on about a male now, not a female. You get everything through. You get pretty girls, to like the lesbian look, to like, your housewife, to your granny, and men same. You get somebody who's effeminate, some big hard tattoo bastard, somebody who looks like he should be in Dad's army or something like that. You get them all. Unfortunately, in the press, it always seems to be the same. And I've done it no favours, have I?
No, you put the final seal to it.
I can't help how I look, can I? It's just unfortunate that. Yeah, but I understand the negativity. My mate worked 80s, 90s, and he was a fighter. He's a proper fighter. He had a lot of one-on-ones in prison. You get some hard bastard. People would fetch him, have a straightener in a cell. He weren't one for like going in mob-handed and kicking fuck out of people. Yeah. But he says people do that, and he called them like roaches and vultures. People who wouldn't do it away from that job. It's just like a pack mentality. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think you should just get a fucking boxing ring and shove it in the middle of the jail? And if people have got problems, get the gloves on and get in fight it out like men.
Right. That culture's dying out because people who are of that ilk are getting to an age now where they're leaving the prison service. The private sector, I saw some brutality in the private sector. Not saw it, I saw the aftermath because people also pick their audience. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's very little that I saw in front of me, and I did see people get pulled. But private sector inevitably starts off with new staff, so there's no culture. The prison service had this macho, bollocks, brutal, what happens in prison stays in prison type shit.
What happened then? How long were you in the healthcare system?
It's just a wing. It's just a wing like any other. We had some cells that were called safer cells. They were different to a normal cell. But I was actually on there 7 years. So,
and how was that mentally for you?
If you got feelings in humanity, It's not good.
Do you have to become cold towards that
No.
to seeing the way people
No,
struggle? and
no. When I first went into prison, I struggled. I struggled on training. I was too loud. From Yorkshire, called people love. I got slapped down straight away. You know, told that I wouldn't pass the course. I was a bully and everything. So that was quite difficult. When I went into prison, I went on K-Wing in Strangeways, which is a big wing, 40 staff on there. You know, it took some strength of character to remain yourself and not get et up. A lot of people are what I call chameleon officers. If you work with decent people, you know, because there is good people, don't get me wrong, then they're good. If they work with people who are lazy, they become lazy and that sort of thing.
How long was the course to get into Strangeways?
8 weeks. Private sector was 9 weeks. We had... there was a lad, actually, from... I always say it wrong. Is it Ballini?
Ballini.
Right, Ballini.
Yeah.
Right, Dave Bogue. If you're watching this, Dave, top guy, this guy. He was a screw-up Ballini for 19 years, then did psychology. He took me in the private sector, our course, a week's course on interpersonal skills. He was fucking brilliant. CNR, where you learn to restrain prisoners, is a week of your training. You do that private and public. And like saying, the private sector, Dave Bowl took us for interpersonal skills. Rest of it is a load of bollocks. It's antiquated. It's classroom stuff. It's role play. It's homework. Shite.
So the stuff that you learned on that course, is that relevant when you actually go into the big boys
in the
field?
private sector? They took us into the jail more in the private sector. When they first put you in there, there's not as many staff in private sector, yeah? When they say cons run a jail, you know, they're in your face all the time. Every private jail will have opened up with the worst population ever. Because if they said to like Strangeways, or there's a prison opening up, send 15 prisoners, they're not getting the guys who are on the PlayStations, are they?
The capacity for Strangeways, is it 1,000?
It's between 11 and 1,200, something like that. But, you know, inevitably private jails got dumped on back in the day. You get all the shit prisoners, there's not as many staff, it'd be in your face. But the training is so antiquated and they stick with it, do you know what I mean? It's boring and it teaches you nothing.
What was your first day like in Strangeways?
It was all right. I went
Nervous?
Do you know what I did? I decided, forget you've worked in private sector. Go in there like, you know, the other people who are just new to the job and just see how it's run. Because it was totally different to the private sector. So if you ask me how my first day in the private sector was, the first shift I worked on B1, which was young offenders, 18 to 21, worst age group.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Trying to make a name for
Yeah,
themselves.
you can imagine. There's me, Adi Ernest, Steve Turnbull, 3 lads. We were all on the same course, all brand new. They ran us ragged all day. It was horrendous. Strangeways were a lot different, a lot of experience there. Do you know what I mean? Older staff, a good mix of staff. So it was quite an enjoyable day.
Yeah, so once you started finding your feet, obviously there's a lot of bad stuff in there, because in the book as well, what I listened to, there was someone who used to set themselves on fire.
Yeah, yeah. We used an alias in the book. I can't remember the aliases, right? The reason some people, we used aliases, it's about dealing with things like fires and dirty protests. So you don't need to know the people, you don't need to know the names. So we used aliases. Obviously, some high-profile prisoners are mentioned. But yeah, the guy you're on about, I can't remember what we call him in the book. But yeah, I didn't actually see him when he set himself on fire first time. What he did, and this is what people have to know, he was a prolific self-harmer, that guy, but he got nothing out of it. It's not manipulative. Everyone will tell you self-harm is manipulative. Yeah? Just briefly going back, when I was in them forensic units with women, horrendous self-harm, like punishing themselves or working out frustrations or things like that. Because loads of them, in fact, all them women had been abused as kids, you know. But they didn't get anything from it. It's like almost punishing yourself.
They're used to pain, they're used to misery, that they do it on themselves.
Yeah, and unfortunately in mental health there's a lot of learned behaviour. So the lasses, one might insert things under the skin, another might, cut or burn themselves. They learn from each other. So this guy, just thought I went on the healthcare, frustrated or whatever, he bought sugar on the canteen, prison canteen, shoelaces round his tracky bottoms, filled his tracky legs up with sugar and set himself on fire. You know what sugar's like?
Burn.
Yeah, burn his fucking legs, mate. The first time I saw his legs, he got a big lump of calf muscle missing. His legs were crooked. They looked like a man of 100 years old, and it physically affected how he worked. But that, other than inconvenience for staff and him being in hospital and stuff, he was punishing himself. The same guy, I saw him cut his arm, 6 big cuts down to wood with a razor blade. I got questioned about this. So I'm outside the cell, he's kicking off. So he's produced a razor blade out of his mouth and he's down to wood. No thought, looking at me, down to wood, right? Anywhere in the jail, if someone's self-harming, there'd be an alarm bell. The thing with this guy, if you stop him, he'd have just done it. If he hadn't finished, he'd have done it later. He'd have got something from somewhere else. So I'm trying to talk to him, come on, what are you doing that? Bam, bam. 6 big cuts, deep. So I said, have you done now? Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Fuck off, Mr. Samworth. Not fuck off, you knobhead or screwboy.
Mr.
Fuck
Samworth.
off. Yeah.
You must have had a bit of respect then for the Mr. to get put in.
I got on well with him. Everyone fucking detested him. He used to make me laugh. Not that weren't funny, but he used to make me laugh. However, he was a dangerous fucker. He was in for Arsenal and he was dangerous. So I fetched Karen Kenny, who was one of my nurse managers. So she's a proper nurse, caring, professional and all that. So she has a look, come on, what have you done that for? Fuck off, Miss Kenny. Okay. If you need me, press the bell. Fuck off, Miss Kenny. Fuck off, Mr. Samworth. So he left him with it. Later that day, he got pissed off at somebody else. He was a personality disorder, this guy. Personality disorders are the worst people to deal with.
Split personality.
Somebody decided that they put personality disorders under mental health. They should be separate. They should be 2 separate things. I'm not medically qualified, but I have worked with these people. People with personality disorders, you get psychiatrists that will give them antipsychotics and medication. You can't cure them with medication. All it does is subdue them. Yeah, they're not going to change. They need to be managed firmly, and they need a proper routine. But anyway, later this day, fills them with shit. So he's got 6 open wounds on his arm that he fills with shit. 3 or 4 days later, he's got fluid. They're obviously infected. Fluid running down his arm. We got a doctor in. He was a plastic surgeon from Wythenshawe Hospital. So I'm going to use his name. I don't know where he is, but it's hard not using his name. So we'll just call him Johnny Boy, yeah? So I says, Johnny Boy, there's a doctor here to see you. Fuck off, I don't want to see him. Just see him. I'm not having no treatment. Well, that's fine. Just see him, please. He's here. See him. We can say you've seen him. Job done. Okay, agrees to that. So he comes out to see this plastic surgeon. Plastic surgeon recoils in horror. Fucking. He didn't obviously swear. But, it stank his arm. There was an officer with me who threw a whitey. You know what I mean? He looked at it. He's gone. He's gone away him. He's seen enough. They were obviously filled with pus and shit like that and fluid running down. Another one of my managers, Karen Bradbury, mental health nurse, is there. So surgeon says, can I have a look? No. Can I take pictures? Yeah, he can take pictures. So he took some pictures. He says to him, are you taking antibiotics? No. He says, he gets septicemia, he'll die. He says, so I'll fucking die. Went back in his cell. Do you know what I mean? He didn't take any antibiotics. 2 weeks later, they've healed. Me or you would probably be dead or in hospital. Seriously ill. They've healed. That weren't the only thing he'd done.
So what's the protocol then for if someone cuts themselves? What happens if they're dying and they don't want you to let you in that room? What's your job to do?
If it had been life-threatening, if you come on, so it was fucking bleeding to death, preserve life. That's what you're taught, preserve life. Any situation, preserve life. There's no leaving someone to bleed to death or something like that.
Why are those guys in prison? Why are they not in a mental institution?
Right, he eventually went to Rampton, right? 3 high security hospitals. You've got Ashworth Hospital, Rampton Hospital and Broadmoor. We've all heard of Broadmoor, haven't we? Mm-hmm. He was a bad case. He was a bad personality disorder, prolific self-harmers. They usually end up in the highest secure places. You've got low secure mental health, which is literally might be a ward in a hospital, just with a security key, put a code in. So if somebody stood behind a nurse, they can walk out, they can get off. You've got medium secure, where people will be locked on a unit, and then obviously the high security estate, such as where he's going Rampton, that's where all the real dangerous fuckers go, like.
Yeah, because it's in the book also that there was a prison riot because Turkey took off the Christmas menu.
Oh, there wasn't, right. It's funny you should mention that. One of my mates fell out with me because of this, but, that's how small-minded he is. So, Christmas Day. Prisoners and food, right? People will never understand. You see your adverts on Facebook, people get fuck all. Prisoners get like 3 meals a day and all this bollocks. Prison food is a big issue. If you got shit food at a jail, you're going to have bother. There's been riots. Blakenhurst. Remember when I was in private sector, we got 19 lads. 12 o'clock at night, the jail shut down. 19 lads in reception. I'm walking them down to E-Wing. You're right, lads, where you all from? Blakenhurst. Now, if there's that many, they have what they call overcrowding drafts. If your prison's full, but you need to take prisoners, they'll ship prisoners around the country. So I says, overcrowding draft. He went, no, we rioted today, boss. I says, rioted? Great. We've got 19 rioters all together, 12 o'clock at night in a private jail. So I says, are you going to riot here? He says, no, what's the food like? I said, the food's really good. He says, you won't see any riots. Yeah, food's important. It's Christmas Day. Again, people will not understand why they're cooking prisoners a Christmas dinner on Christmas Day. Why don't they give them a fucking sandwich? Or, why are they getting that? You've got prison officers who look after these guys, yeah? That is part of it. You can imagine Christmas Day in prison. I worked every Christmas Day, and I'd have Boxing Day off with my family. There was no point me having Christmas Day off to have to work Boxing Day, so I'd do it that way. It's fucking miserable. All they want to do, the cons, is come out, speak to the family, if they can get on a phone, and they've got some phone credit, have the meal and go behind the doors. It's miserable. It's the worst time.
Yeah, just want to get it over with.
Yeah, it's also potentially a dangerous time. New Year is always highlighted at a risk time for a riot. So this particular day, I'm what they call the cleaning officer. So I'd be in charge of the cleaners, and I'd run the serve rate where you serve meals. So a lad who was on our course, 2 pens, who'd been on the day before, he was called 2 pens because he was always writing prisoners up, giving them warnings. So joking aside, it'd be like that. He was the clean officer previous day, and what he used to do, you'd order the food for the following day. So about 11 o'clock, I phones the kitchens. I haven't seen my order. Donna, who's in the kitchens, what we got today. Now, I'm expecting, we got 200 prisoners on Kaling. I'm expecting 150 Christmas dinners, maybe 30 halal meals for your Muslims and that, and maybe 20 butty packs. Some lads would only eat sandwiches, they wouldn't eat prison food. Donna comes back, 160 fish curry. I says, fucking fish curry? So she started laughing. I says, what are you laughing at? She says, who's fucking ordered this? I says, have you not looked? She said, all she gets is the sum total of meals that they're cooking, and then they send them. I says, there'll be a fucking riot on this wing. Now, somebody who was, again, who said this is bollocks, it won't happen, they were talking about Donna. So I'll tell you about Donna. She's a lovely lass. She's left now. So if she ever sees this, good on her. I got on with everyone, I was polite. The odd times I had to work in the kitchen, if she asked me whether I'd help with something, I'd help, whatever it was. Some officers wouldn't. Some officers, old school, they'd sit in a chair and read a paper and they won't lift a fucking finger. I did, so I got on well with her. And somebody said, she wouldn't give me a fucking steam off her piss. But the officer, I wouldn't have given him steam off my piss either. Anyway, me and her got on. So I says, you cannot send 150 portions of fish curry. There'll be a fucking riot on this wing. So what I did, I got all the cleaners together. I said, right, I want you to go around every cell and tell them all 2 pens, has stitched me up. I used his name. I won't use his name on here. I like him. He's left now. So no hard feelings, yeah? Anyway, I got them all to go out and tell every fucking cell, as it stands now, there's no Christmas dinner, it's fish curry, but I'm trying to sort it. Because when they got down there, I didn't want no surprises. The rest of the staff are upstairs having brews, yeah? One of my good friends were there. She knows this happened. The SO knows it happened because I went and told him. My manager straight away. He went fucking bananas. Anyway, come dinner time, the staff all go and unlock the prisoners. The food come. Donna did us proud. There was fucking shitloads of food. Whatever were left in the kitchen, she sent, there was eggs, fried eggs. You don't get fried egg in prison. See people's faces. You give someone a fried egg Christmas Day. There was fish curry, which weren't that bad, and shitloads of food. Nobody was starving, and there was no riot, which is what some of my critics said. But there wasn't. But there could have been the potential there. If it hadn't been for the lass in the kitchen, yeah, and that's all it takes. People need to understand that.
Yeah. People just want, even the prisoners, obviously they're in there for a reason.
Of course they are.
But they still want a bit of respect. People hate getting told what to do. Do you know what I mean? So it can be difficult. How bad was the suicide rate in Strangeways when you were there? Did you see a lot of deaths?
Right, deaths in custody. Let me talk about them. That's a good subject because you've asked about specific jails, and I've seen a lot around jails. You know, Strangeways got a high suicide rate. So some of the deaths in custodies, half the deaths in custodies while I were there were nothing to do with Strangeways, right? The people who kill themselves, you have people, for instance, paedophiles. There was one lad I remember who killed himself. He got found guilty. He never accepted it. He said he would kill himself if he got found guilty, and he did. If he'd have been in any jail in the country, if he'd been in a Scottish jail, he would have killed himself. So people try and equate suicides to a particular jail as though that jail is at fault. Do you know what I mean? I know it's gone up since 2015 because English and Welsh jails are on their arse. There'll be a lot more bullying and things like that, self-harming, assaults and stuff like that. So the suicide rate, it could vary. It depends on your population.
Yeah.
There's also lads, this never gets mentioned, this, James, and if you say it was more than half, but let's say half the people I worked with I didn't like, for whatever reason, lazy, bullies or whatever, 50% of the people I worked with were good. It was more than that, but let's say 50%, yeah? No one ever says how many lives you saved, how much bullying you stop, how much safer you make it, yeah? 2013, 2014, best summing up this, the outgoing prison inspector. So prison inspections, people shit themselves. They can come into your jail unannounced, yeah? They can go anywhere, they can talk to anyone. The last one before 2015, he said, for safety, for prison staff relationship, bullying, everything, Strangeways, possibly the best prison inspection he'd ever done. That was 2013, 2014.
See, I didn't know that. Strangeways stands out to me as being like a fucking dungeon.
Because, you know, it's a Victorian jail. You've got to understand.
Yeah. 1800s that was built.
Yeah, of course. It's a Victorian jail. You know, it's like Armley. Liverpool's probably the worst condition. They're trying to rectify that.
But Linney must be up there with one of the worst.
Of course it is. But I will tell you now, prisoners, when they're complaining about conditions, it's not going in a cell in Strangeways that's got spiders in corner and a bit of mould and needs a paint. It's because they're getting banged up all day again. There's not enough staff to get them out. So if you look 70s, 80s, bare bang up, 23 hours a day, brutal system, slopping out, yeah? Early 90s, Strangeways riot, then they started getting prisoners out. You know, more association, sending people to work. Now, because they've got no staff, it's going back to dark ages.
Yeah.
They're getting banged up more and more.
It's about 40 grand per inmate for everyone that's in the prison in the UK. It's just that, for me, it's a system that's failing. A system that I think over 70% of prisoners in prison always go back. It's not really set up.
It's more than that. I'm sure it's more than that.
I thought it came down there.
Reoffending rate is horrendous.
Yeah. What do you think should be put in place then to try and maybe change the prison system? Because the numbers are getting higher. People are more depressed. People are more suicidal. More people are on drugs. More people are on drugs in prison than they are out. I was in Berlin in 2007, and there was more people fucked up in the jail than there was out in the streets, which is crazy.
It is. Well, okay. I'll sum it up with a lad who lived near me, 100 metres away when I lived in Manchester. I've moved away now, yeah. He's a lad I'd known since, I'd known him 15 years, an ex-customer. I don't like the word ex-con or ex-prisoner, because if you've got that stigma, you know, it sticks with you, doesn't it? Yeah. So he was an ex-customer. He is a lad who will always be going in prison. We had these chats with him, long chats, you know. He was a little fucker when he was younger, quite violent and that. So he's just done a tour recently, 18 months. He was in Strangeways, Forest Bank, where I both work, Risley, which is a cat scene. He was in Liverpool jail. And he used drugs. He's never used drugs. So I says, you know, what? Why use it? The reason I knew, he got what looked like a big scar here, looked like he'd been slashed. I said, what is it, that? He said, it's a burn. I says, what's that from? He says, taking spice in jail, passed out on radiator, 4 hours, woke up, full thickness burn on his arm. I said, did it not wake you up? He says, you bang out when you take it. I says, why are you taking it? He says, you're getting banged up more and more, young staff, you can't get anything done, it's becoming more violent, so people are turning to drugs. That's why he's never taken drugs. 20 years ago in prison, he's never touched drugs. He sold drugs and took drugs in, but he's never used them. And he's using now. And that's why.
Yeah, but again, people can't handle the sentence. They're just feeling like caged animals. So it's
you can't
easy.
Handle bang up, mate.
It's easy to just go down the route of taking Valium, methadone. Yeah, just
right, methadone. You know what?
So how bad was it? How much drugs were involved in Strangeways? Also, was it?
If you go to pre-214, you've always got an element, haven't you? Mm-hmm. So anyone who's watching this, or anyone who might be in government who can't understand how drugs get in jail, if officers, civilians, and prisoners are going in jail, it's only going to be drugs because they'll stick them up their ass. Mm-hmm. Last resort. People need to know that. That's how they get them in. It's nothing. What would you do now? What would you do now? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah. What do you think can change for the prison system?
Something we hadn't talked about, dynamic security. That's the relationship between staff and prisoners. Mm-hmm. That's why Strangeways got a glowing report. It was staff-prisoner relationships. Yeah. And they've no longer got them relationships. You know, like the lad who lived near us. I'd known him 15, 16 years through prison, so he knew me. You can blag. You'll know yourself if you've been in prison. An officer might blag that he's a decent screw, but other people will know. You know, what you see is what you get. Prisoners will suss you out straight away. However, them relationships, I've worked with knobheads in there, and somebody's come up and said, Mr. Samworth, if you hadn't been with that knobhead, I'd have banged him out because of the way he was behaving or talking. And also, they'll come and tell you things. Sometimes they tell me on purpose, sometimes they don't. But staff-prisoner relationship keeps it safe, or did. Now they're going back to bang up. It's becoming task-orientated. My last 6 months, you know, very little interaction with prisoners. You're just doing a task. Go here, do an exercise, right? Go to that wing and do this, do this. A lot of new staff. There's no interaction. You know, somebody might be going to twat me on K-wing. Yeah, I don't like that officer. Somebody else might say, it's all right, Mr. Samworth. You know, you're out of order. He's a decent lad. All that's gone. There's no prisoner-staff relationships. So what they need to do is they either go back to bang up 23 hours a day, but you'll never have the staff you used to deal with the animosity. Used to be shitloads of staff. You know, K-wing used to have like 2 SOs and 25, 30 staff when all prisoners were banged up. When I left, there were 6 on landing with 200 prisoners, 2 on each landing. So they either go back to banging people up and manage it like that, or they need to get the right staff, look at training, and start getting prisoners out again. Forget everything else. Get them out on landings. It used to be boring, James. Mm. You know, Saturdays on K-wing, I'd be stood with old Bob Haig, bless him, who's not here anymore. He was a cracking screw. You get backache stood on landing, you know, a bit of a tea belly having your brews, and you just be chatting with prisoners. You can see what they're doing when they're out. You can see up to who's no good, who might be a bit down and stuff like that. All that's gone.
So when you're in the system, see when you see suicides, people setting themselves on fire, people self-harming, Is there things in place for yous to go and get help, to go and speak to people?
Fuck all.
Or do you just go home and kind of
My
accept
friends,
it?
my 2 nurse managers, and I was saying to them, nothing in place at all. Do you know what I mean? The last death in custody I dealt with, you have a hot debrief. So actually involved, hands-on with that prisoner, there was 3 nursing staff and 2 officers, me and my mate, yeah? The hot debrief, there were 30 people in, laughing and joking, getting bruised, angers on. You're supposed to have a cold debrief, so maybe a month later come back, see how people are. There's fuck all, mate. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go home, you have your nightmares, you come back to work the next day, no time off. It's your friends. You talk about it to your friends.
Where was the paedophiles, the sex offenders? Did you ever interact with them?
That's a good question. I never, I couldn't have worked on that wing. I did work on there on overtime, the odd shift.
What was that like?
You're on a shift. If they didn't know you, they wouldn't talk to you. You know, it was just a vile community. Mm. It was, you know what's going on there.
Yeah.
You get your odd person turning tricks for people. You don't really want to know that. Excuse me. It was like a den of iniquity. You know, it's easy. When you're there, you don't see it. People aren't interacting with you. And because I didn't work on there, you're not necessarily knowing what people are in for, other than the high-profile ones. However, you know, you could tell it had got an atmosphere. And like I said, they're just networking. For me, rape, offences against kids, they do not carry any sort of tariff that's of any worth. Do you know what I mean? If you look in America, they're going to start with 30 years. If there's a second offence, they're getting lifed off. Mm-hmm. Over here, you know, I remember one school teacher coming in, and also a lot of these people are so up themselves. So I'm interviewing this guy, not about his crime, just giving him a first night induction that he had to do with prisoners. It's like a duty of care, you know, tell him what he can expect, what'll happen the following day, etc. So he says to me, I know all this, my solicitor's told me. He says, and if I don't get what I'm entitled to, my solicitor will be contacting a prison. Absolute arsehole. He'd been grooming kids in a school in Bury for years, yeah? And he got 18 months. 18 fucking months. So he'd be out in probably 7.
Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. There's boys in prison with a couple of grams of coke and they're doing 2 and 3 years.
Fighting.
Yeah, and there's the sex offenders are getting a slap in the wrist. That's why they're repeating again, because they're getting fuck all done.
For me, it's dead easy with sex offenders. They're tagged for life. Fuck your human rights. Do you know what? Mm-hmm. Women, kids, and men, because some men are raped.
Yeah, yeah.
They're tagged for life. Mm-hmm. So if you're on a tag and you're going into school, bam, 12 months to serve, put them back in. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There was some high-profile names. Harold Shipman was in Strangeways. You weren't working at the time. They say he
was there when I was there, but he was just an horrible bastard again.
He says he killed over 200 people.
Yeah.
One of Britain's most biggest serial
very,
killers.
very calculated. He was a fucking horrible bastard. Not because he'd done that. He was horrible anyway. Do you know, as a character? See, here's the thing as well, James. Some people, irrespective of their crime, come in jail, do the time, and they'll be polite and respectful. When I was on healthcare, some of our orderlies, they're the cleaners, but we called them orderlies because they were working in a small community. We had a lot of female staff, not a lot of officers, so they helped you out. Some of these bastards in Manchester we had on there cleaning, you know, mopping. Can I do all, Mr. Samworth? Is it I've got at gym? Dead polite and that. So it's how people behave, where a lot of people, particularly on sort of the VP wing and that.
What's the VP wing?
Vulnerable prisoners, sex offenders. Sometimes, I mean, we put a lad off healthcare. He couldn't stay on healthcare. He was a young lad. He was only about 21. He looked about 6. He ended up on VP wing because he wouldn't have survived in jail. He was gay, obviously. He was weak. They were fearful of putting him on normal wings. So instead, he got placed on the VP wing with all your paedophiles and everything else.
Was there a lot of rapes in prison?
There were a few on that unit. Prison rape, I suspect it's not prevalent, yeah. I suspect there's more than gets reported on. When I was on K-Wing, we had a lad, it was a black lad, he was a big lad, 6'2", big build. He came to me and the lad I were working with, can I have a chat? You know, he was obviously distressed, tearful, well, thinking, fucking hell, what's going on here? You know, he says, the guy who he alleged had done it was now on another wing. You know, we're like, why didn't you come at the time? He says, look at me, am I going to come to you and tell you? Anyway, police got involved, but then he failed to follow it up. There's a difficulty as well with the police and the Crown prosecution about serious assaults that's on both prisoners and staff, and, you know, such as rapes and things like that, about them taking it on. It's almost like they don't give a shit, you know.
Yeah, because again, it's high-profile names. Who was the boy with the one eye who...
Dale Cregan.
Yeah, invited the police officers and shot one dead. What was he like?
Right. I didn't put him in, but you know why? I won't give him time of day. He was a piece of shit, a coward.
Had he done a few murders? Was he on the run for
He killed
murders?
his son, right. He killed his son. It all started, you can look it up on the internet, but there was a dispute in a pub. So he was asked to warn someone or threaten someone. So he took a gun to the party because he couldn't fight. He always had people with him who could fight, but he couldn't fight. So he took a gun, let off a few rounds, and unintentionally, we believe, ended up killing a guy. Now, his father, you know, basically said, because they know who'd done it, said, you know, you've killed my son, I'm going to kill yours, because he had a small child. So he went after his father, killed him. And then, because police were harassing everyone he knew, including his family, massive murder run, he lured two young lasses to somewhere in Manchester and brutally murdered them.
Two police officers?
Yeah, two young lasses. They were two young lasses, you know. And I'll tell you something about that as well. 99% of prisoners, you know, they were like, it's disgusting. They said, you know, he's killed two girls at the end of the day. He's murdered two girls. He's a coward. They weren't in support of him or anything like that. People like him have to be handled in a certain way. They want him to go to court on trial. So, you know, they're either in SEGs or health cares usually. Make sure they don't harm themselves or attempt anything. He was never going to do that. He was full of shit. The thing was, when he come in, he was very cocky, had all these boys around him. They all ended up arguing and grassing each other up. And I can say that the last time I saw him, he was off to Ashworth Hospital because he was allegedly mentally unwell, which he wasn't. He was just an evil, horrible bastard. And for me, people like him, that's why we need to look at capital punishment in this country again. You know, it's going to cost public millions to keep someone like... It's a no-brainer. Do you know what I mean? He's no use. He's never getting out. Same as the lads that killed Lee Rigby and others, you know.
Were they in Strangeways?
No, they weren't. But, you know, people think that there's this urban myth that there's only like 10 people who's never going to get out of jail. It's climbing. There's probably, I don't know, last time I was aware of it, maybe 400 their whole life. But certainly like him, 4 murders in America would be on death row.
So what's it like for you then? Because you've done Reiki, you're able to, for people it might sound crazy, but feel energies and see energies. As soon as you see someone, you know he's did a bad crime, but you'll say, do you know what, he's actually not a bad person, but there's certain people you feel dead cold and eerie around, but you just know they're evil bastards.
Not that many prisoners, surprisingly enough. You know, I'd take people at face value. And also, prisoners react, you know, my nan always used to say to me, speak and treat people how you want to be treated yourself, and I always did. You know, you give them benefit of doubt or whatever. There were some people who didn't want to interact with it, but there weren't that many that I could honestly say, hey, today at Mark Bridger, he was from a little village in Wales, took the little lass, you know, God knows what he did to her, and, you know, he was a horrible bastard, slimy bastard. But it's difficult. I tell you what, I always used to say, joking aside, you know, very cliched, easiest job I've ever had. You know, come to work, have a laugh if you can, go home, no one gets hurt. But I think the thing that affected me in the end was the fact that, you know, if you're quite open and you get on with people and you're a people person, the lads that come on healthcare, you got to know them well, you knew the backgrounds because you needed to, you know, because there was some dangerous fuckers on there. and you got a lot, like I say, a lot of female staff and that, and not a lot of officers. You need to know the background, so you'd have a look, and a lot of people who come on there were mentally unwell, have been abused and that. And it obviously affected me, but I didn't know at the time.
How did the female staff get treated? Did they get abused a lot?
I worked with two lovely lasses who did over 25 years, so they talked about what people had said with the good old days. One of them was 80s, they both late 80s, 90s, yeah?
Proper old school then?
Women weren't received well by a lot of prison officers. It was male-dominated, macho environment. However, these two said, yeah, you know, loads of sexual innuendos and bollocks like that. And if you run into it, I remember one lass saying, she's got a massive chest, you know, I'd be running to an alarm bell or something like that, and people would be wolf whistling and taking the piss. But she said, as did the other two, even though you weren't accepted at first, and people had like ridicule you, you know, nicknames, sexist jokes and all that bollocks, said it was still an easy job. A lot of staff, prisons locked up all day, a lot of animosity, but plenty of people to deal with it.
See if there was like a paedophile, sex offender, someone that was an evil bastard that you've seen getting his shit kicked out of them, would there be a delay maybe to let it happen a wee bit longer, or would you try and split it up just as fast as anyone?
Staff would just react and deal with it. The staff that worked on the VP unit, vulnerable prison unit, where all your paedophiles and rapists that were, there was probably more, surprisingly enough, more female staff than male staff.
Why would that happen?
It was a totally different environment. It weren't like a normal wing. To say it was easy, it'd be wrong. It was a different population. On the whole, there was less incidents on there. You know, because like I said, people are just, you know, they've got everything they want. They've got the networking, like-minded people or whatever. So it was just sort of a calmer unit or whatever.
When you say networking, in what way?
Paedophiles.
Yeah, just
come in. Yeah, of course they
share
will.
stories and...
Yeah, of course they will. Definitely.
That's fucking sick.
It is, but what do you do about it? You know, they're all housed together. You can't do anything about that.
While you were working in Strangeways, what's the worst thing you've ever seen?
Well, probably not the worst. If you want to know what... Well, I'll tell you something that affected me really bad. A lot of people would just say I was a fucking soft ass. And people I worked with didn't see it because it was just a moment in time, you know, like a car crash where things go slower. So we had a lad, one of the lads I was talking about, who was brain damaged. And I knew his story. The reason I knew his story, like I said, he come on for a serious offence, sexual offence. So we got, like I said, we got a lot of female staff. So when someone come on healthcare, small community, I would have a look what they were in for, what the offence was, etc. You know, you got to keep it a safe place. So he was a young lad, normal life, about 21, lived with a lass, got a small baby. His mother weren't that old. Mother was maybe 40 odd. Yeah? So he's living a normal life. He gets mistaken for somebody else in a takeaway at night, another gang member. Gets battered by about 5 lads, smashed in the head with a baseball bat. He is brain damaged. And like I said, when people are brain damaged or stroke victims or anything like that, they can become disinhibited, which means they don't know right from wrong. So it was alleged he had done something to a friend's girlfriend. I don't know whether that happened or not, but they don't see anything as wrong, yeah? But he was brain damaged. So he come in. I can't remember how long we had him, a few months. I met his mother a few times. Because he was young and brain damaged, we actually had visits on healthcare, which you don't normally do. You normally have a visits hall in any prison. You'll have been on visits. But we had it, so it was just in an office, me sat outside with his mother, who was really young. So from his mum's point of view, who I met, she just cried for the full hour because her 21-year-old son, who's brain damaged, is in prison. She's got no contact with his missus. Missus wouldn't have aught to do with him or child. So that you see that side of it. And then this particular day, the lad was going to hospital, so it took time, as everything. What they look at is, whilst he's in prison, even though he's brain damaged, you keep the public safe because you keep them locked up. You know, there's no escapes from Strangeways. So that's what they look at. So he wouldn't be a priority to go to a brain injury unit. So we had him a while. What happened with him, because he was hard to manage, he ended up going on an officer unlock, a protocol whereby he needed 3 staff to get him out. Now, on that unit, most of the time, he had 2 staff, so he ended up being behind his door quite a lot. So you've got someone who's brain damaged in a cell, he smashed his cell up, he's got no TV, family bathroom, yeah? Put a bed in your family bathroom, and that's what you've got. You've got a toilet, a sink, and a bed. He's got no TV, and he became acutely unwell, mentally unwell, as well as being brain damaged. So this day, he's going to hospital the following day. I stopped, had a look in at him. Inch of water on the floor. He's flooded his toilet. His toilet's full of shit, paper, and all sorts. There was stuff all over the floor, Weetabix and that, but, you know, in water, it's all mulched up. It was a mess, looked like a swamp. He's got his cup, dipping it in the toilet. It's full of shit and blocked. He's got a Quran in his sink that is mulched up. You know, this is not a religious statement, this. Mulched it up. He's eating big cobfuls of Quran with shitty water. So I'm looking at him, and he's just, you know, there's nothing there. He's just staring beyond me. So I turned to one of my managers, and this isn't Callous from them. I said, have you seen him? She says he's going to hospital tomorrow. You know, people are milling about, walking past me, and I'm looking at him, and it's a sad state of affairs. Now, people can say I'm a soft ass or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But this was a lad whose life had been destroyed, and he stood eating a fucking Quran and drinking shitty water. Do you know what I mean? And that's no place.
Yeah, just broke him.
Yeah, I can't get that out of my head. It's not the most horrific thing I've seen. And that's what people think. They always think they're really bad shit. You know, like the lad self-harming. Maybe that's something, I got on with him. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know.
What was Joey Barton like?
Joey Barton, why have you asked me that?
Yeah, that's a good question, I think.
Okay.
Because he's a famous footballer, plus his background, and I wanted to know what it was like in Strangeways.
You know what? I'm glad you've asked me that. I never mentioned him. Let me tell you first, we had his younger brother and cousin. I think his younger brother was 18, and we didn't have 18-year-olds at Strangeways, and his cousin was 21. They were accused and got found guilty of killing a lad. Might have been in Iton. It was somewhere in Liverpool. His brother or his cousin, they believe it was his cousin, but his brother took a ice axe to the party, ice pick. So his brother, who's 18, and his cousin, who's 21, have gone to sort this lad out who they've had bother with, and one of them stuck an ice pick in his head and killed him. So we had them first. His brother was not 18 in mental age. He was like a kid. He didn't realise serious. His cousin was an evil bastard. He definitely did it. They got them both for it, joint enterprise. Do you know what a joint enterprise is? If I shoot your mate here, yeah, and you see it, but you don't say out, yeah, we decide we're not going to say out, and I get found done, and you get found out you were there, you can get done on joint enterprise,
Both
get a life
charged with
sentence,
murder.
same with me, yeah. So that was his brother. So Joey Barton, he was on B wing, drug-free ring. It's a bit of a joke, that, isn't it? Drug-free wing. It was an easy wing to work on. The staff did fuck all. They were lazy. They used to pick the prisoners. It wasn't drug-free. There's no wing that's drug-free. So when Joey Barton come in, a bit of political shit went on. He came into the prison. Everyone knew he was coming in. High-profile footballer. This is not from our governor. I believe this come from elsewhere. The jail, let's say the jail was told he'd got to be allowed to keep fit. Yeah. I went on B-wing. I remember there's a lass. This fucking idiot come running past me, and I mean running past me. He didn't run on stairs in jail. He didn't run. You pull someone. So I shouts after him. This female after goes, "It's Joey." I went, "Who's fucking Joey?" Joey Barton. Fucking hell, mate. So he got a job on the wing straight away. They sacked a lad who was decent and give him a job on the servery on the wing. So he got to eat pretty much what he wanted. They also made him gym orderly. Best job in Strangeways for any con is gym orderly.
Yeah.
You go over to the gym in the morning, you wash old towels, you wash gym kit, you can train when you want, you eat your food over there. They bring you back all end of day. Premium. He ended up with that job. So he was allowed to keep, he fucking did it easy, that lad. Do you know what I mean? So there you go. That's Joey Barton. He had an easy life in Strangeways. He was on the drug-free wing, loosely speaking. He got as much gym as he wanted, and he pretty much ate what he wanted.
Yeah. Was he all right? Any grief?
It was just for me, it was a dickhead. It was just running about everywhere, and Jack the Lad. You know, people getting in Mars bars for autographs and shit like that.
Swagger on.
But he didn't do it proper. It weren't hardcore. We've had prisoners.
Yeah.
Prisoners come in. Oh Jesus, what's his name? Stone Roses singer.
Ian Black.
Yeah, he was on H Wing. Yeah, as a cleaner, no preference, no privileges, no nothing. I want to know him. We also had the lad out of Happy Mondays, Bez.
Bez. I know Bez.
Yeah,
He's
right,
a good
the
lad.
dancer.
Yeah.
So he's fucking tiny.
Yeah.
When I saw him, he come in. He'd been in before. Again, you know, people would be shouting things out at window. Oh, do as a dance or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know, came in under the radar. Just got on with his jail.
Bez is a good guy.
Yeah, no special treatment or anything like that. So we have had people in who just. But Joey Barton, he definitely come from above. I don't know where it come from, but you know, he got special privileges.
He's going to have a lot of pull. Do you know what I mean? Because of who he is. Because if anything happens to him in there, it's going to be a shitstorm in the press. Do you think that's why he gets special privileges? Because of who he was, instead of, look, you're getting dubbed up 23 hours a day here. You're going to get fucking learn a lesson.
I don't know, but you know, if you look at the guy himself, he's just an angry bastard, isn't he? He's carried on with the same sort of training ground bust-ups and stuff like that. So,
well, he's kept out of trouble the last few years, so
someone pulled strings for him, definitely.
Yeah, because obviously the family history, it must have been difficult for him to maybe have an easy life.
His cousin and certainly his brother. Very much so.
Big Alan Lord. I had Alan on my podcast, Strangeways Riots.
Yep.
Spent over 30 years in the jail.
Yep.
Decent big guy. How was it with Alan? Were you in when he was there?
No. I'd like to meet me and chat. I have no problem with anybody. You know what I mean? You do your time. Whether you want to talk to me, being an ex-crew is another thing. Because, you know, I remember seeing him talking about being in the block in Strangeways as a youngster, 21, walked across the landing, didn't follow the line that you have to line, go behind his cell, someone rabbit punched him, called him a black bastard. The prison service created people, Bronson, people like that. Do you know what I mean? You know, the brutality in that, and some people just kick back, don't they? So, you know.
Yeah, going through that kind of trauma then, because he did receive a lot of racism and hatred. But he's out now and he's trying to get his film done. It'd be an interesting one for the two of you to sit across and
do you know
exchange
what?
stories.
It interests me anyway. Do you know what I mean? Meeting different people and talking to different people. You know, Sean Atwood.
Yeah, shout out to Shawnee boy.
Wild man.
Crazy bastard. Was
We
he
got
ever
like-
in Strangeways?
Not that I know of. No, I don't think he was. However, do you know what? We got on like an house on fire. Absolutely got on like a fucking house on fire. And, you know, I've done that job. They've both been inside. I said to them, if I'd have been knocking around with you fuckers, I'd have ended up in bloody, you know, same shit, raving and bollocks like that. So that's just how it goes, doesn't it?
But do you feel as if you've got to have that extra bit of protection because of your job? Because you're not a fucking alien. You worked inside the prison system, but do you think people look at you differently? Do you feel as if...
Right, the tag, like I said, with social media, ex-screw, you know, people are just going to... another fucking bullying bastard, another typical screw. They are, aren't they? However, you know, like Wildman and that, you just connect and get on.
Yeah.
You chat and away you go. So I would like to meet people like that.
But you should, because I had Neil Woods on as well, Undercover Copper.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
He struggles with PSD himself, and
of course he will.
Yeah, he goes through a lot of shit, but he's on social media. He's trying to rectify all the stuff that he did in the past.
Right, I appreciate what you're trying to do. You know, I saw your homeless thing and that. It's a really good thing. For me, it's mental health, prison mental health. So I need to, obviously I've done a book. I like another book from the point of view of Screw. But if I come at it, it's got to be, I'm a civilian now. You know, it's 4 years since I did my last shift, 3 years since, so I'd like to meet these people. I still need to talk about it. I won't, you know, till my dying day. If I get a chance to speak about prison, I will. But I will tell it honest, I'm not going to pull no punches or anything like that. You know, it's not a good system in my time, and it was certainly worse, you know, when there was all brutality and that. But if they want to make changes or whatever, you need people to listen, and you can't cut budgets. But definitely, I can imagine it. I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
Sit there with people like that, and away you go.
Yeah, just shoot the shit.
Yeah.
You struggle with PTSD yourself. Were you attacked inside Strangeways prison?
Right, let me tell you about PTSD. So I dealt with a couple of consultants, when I was on the sick, when I got finished. One of them said, you've never been in life-threatening situations, you ain't got PTSD. Other one said, he's chatting bollocks, anyone can get PTSD. The thing with PTSD, it don't want to become like a bad back. Everyone has a bad back. So what I don't want is somebody to say, I've got PTSD, and people dismiss it. Yeah, they've started calling it post-traumatic stress syndrome in America, in some cases, and they've gone away from the disorder. I work with officers who involved in one incident that finished them. One incident, and it finished them. Because you don't know how it's going to affect them. Yeah, not necessarily a death in custody. For me, PTSD, it didn't stop me going to work. I had nightmares dealing with things. You find a dead body, you see someone cutting themselves, the lad with brain damage,
That's
eating
trauma.
the Quran. Of course it is. It never stopped me going to work. Once I was on the sick and I come away, it added to my mental health woes because I couldn't shut down. My sleep is horrendous. Last 3 months it's got really bad again. We've had a bit of change in his lives. And I think if you've had a bit of mental trauma, a lot of change, even though it's positive, can upset you. So it's a bad thing. There'll be prisoners who have PTSD, loads of people. Me, I put myself through, went to see a psychologist, applied myself, Salford, saw a counsellor who basically said I can't deal with that. Saw a psychologist who was lovely, who just sat and listened. All I wanted was someone to listen. No fancy CBT or strategies. I just talked for 4 months and she listened, bless her. It screwed her up. I asked her midway through, I says, do you have anything, obviously if you're listening shit all day. And she says, since I started seeing you. Yeah, and the writer I worked with the book, him the same. After the first week of doing the book, I was really fucked up, not sleeping, because it's all going through your mind.
Yeah, bringing it all to the surface again.
He says, well, I'll be honest, I'm having nightmares about it. So it does affect you. It didn't stop me going to work. And I've got a lot of anger, me. I've got a lot of anger with how people are treated. Not just prisoners, staff. Staff should look after each other. All managers need to do in the prison service is look after the staff. And it is a cold place. Do you know what I mean? There's no aftercare, nothing like that. But what I would like to do, I'm either going to go into my contemplative therapies, or I'd like someone to buy me a little house in Wakefield, terraced house, 3 or 4 rooms, kitchen and a bathroom, staff it with volunteers who've had bad experiences, suffered PTSD, child traumas, and just get them to come in. Men are shit at talking. Yeah. Every time I turned up for the psychologist, I'll tell you now, 2 hours before, I've got diarrhea. I'm sat there with knots in my stomach to go in with this lass, bless her, and pour my heart out. I found it really difficult going. It helped me. The same day after, I was euphoric for 3 or 4 hours. That evening or the following morning, my missus, bless her, Amy, and my daughter, Billy, I'd be out of my road because I was a fucking beast. It was like a relief, and then it had come back, and I was fucking angry.
Yeah, but talking about that emotion and trauma, it brings it to the surface, so you automatically feel that connection because your brain's repeating that, so your brain doesn't know what's real or what's fake.
I can't shut down me things. I told you, a memory from my childhood has come back into my head in the last 2 weeks, something from nearly 40 years ago, that is stopping me sleeping. A week last Wednesday, and I can remember when it works, I'm looking at clock at 1:30, and then at 6 o'clock, I'm getting up and taking dog out, and that memory is just...
clear as day.
Yeah. So, like yourself, the homeless thing and that, I'd really love to help people. I don't think I can come at it from the point of view of an ex-screw, and like I say, I might go into complementary therapies, but like Sean Atwood and that, I'd love to do some motivational speaking.
Yeah.
But like he says you need to promote yourself and have a platform.
Yeah.
So you know, maybe I'll set myself up a Twitter account, take it on chin, and just look at the positives.
Listen, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. You come across a very well-educated man. You speak very well. Listen, you brought your book out. It's not as if you're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. You're being as honest as you can be. Yeah. It's going to be, that's just a bit of fear as well. What's people going to think? But fuck everyone else, because there's people like Donald Trump's got Twitter.
No, do you know what it is?
You're overthinking it.
I'm not fearful. Right, Sean Atwood's podcast, yeah. So I read every comment for feedback, you know, some positive, some from his American audience and that. Some people were hateful straight off, but I last started reading it, so I think it's about my family as well. You know, I don't want to put them. They're strong, don't get me wrong. So, you know, I might have a chat with my missus. My daughter's well out of it. She's protected, yeah. Bless her. My missus, she's a strong character. She's had her own traumas in the past. So maybe I will have a go and just tell her not to. But
yeah, tell them not to read the comments, which is difficult, especially at the start. I read every comment for a year. Wee bit of self-seeking when I was getting the praise. I loved it. Negativity, I would go in my room and hide. Nowadays, me and Steph are driving down. It's just part and parcel of the game. The negative shit that I get, people, my teeth, my fake tan, this and that, people making up shit, you just got to take it in the chin.
I just like to say, I'm not used to meeting, like, you know, good-looking guys.
Thank you.
In dingy hotels late at night. But yeah,
so used to
fucking teeth are shining.
So used to.
But yeah, you know, I definitely want to help people the best way I can. And, you know, Sean's had people on. There is, you know, ex-addicts, one or two that are out there, but, you know, get a big team of people. You need to get in schools and educate people on the prison front. But there's shitloads of people. I've had messages on Messenger, right? It's under Sam Samworth. I've had people, my missus, I'm really ignorant as well. I'm shit on computer. A few months ago, she says, you got loads of messages, you. I says, where? She says, you have to accept them because they're not your friends. You know, put my security settings really tight. Really positive messages, loads of them. Last one, career soldier, ex-copper. He says, I thought you were only me, Sam. You know, I'm heading for a nervous breakdown. My marriage is going to fucking shit. And now I've read your book and I've seen the light. I've got my missus to read it. And I said to her, read that book. She read it and I said, that's me. And it cleared the air. I'm going to go for counselling and that. And that's what I want. I want to reach a big audience.
But to reach the bigger audience, set up maybe a Twitter, put it on private, maybe at the start, build up the confidence when you realise, wait a minute, it's not
For
that
me,
bad.
You know, I can just look at the positives. I said with a book, if one person gets in touch and said, yeah, I'm fucked up, I'm going to go and get help now.
But that will set you up a platform to maybe go and speak in schools, prisons, people can get in touch. Do you want to leave an email or anything for people? Maybe you can go and speak at a school or prison if anybody's watching. Do you want to leave anything?
Yeah, I'll give you an email. I'm going to have a go at Messenger. I'll give you, well, they can contact me on Messenger at Sam Samworth.
Okay.
You know, I will have to accept it, which is fair enough. I'll give you my email and I'm going to have a chat with the missus when I go home about setting up a Twitter account and maybe put myself out there. The thing is, it's all life experiences, you know what I mean? Some of the stuff I saw in engineering was frigging horrendous or whatever. But I just want to help people. I am a people
But
person.
the majority of people are struggling. You've been through a lot of shit in your life as well, but you're dealing with it. So for you to be the lead by example, you've got to be at the forefront. You've got to be willing to take the grenades and the punches for other people to maybe see the light, the message from the man who was in the army to say, you've given me the strength. That's what you need. That's what keeps you going, to realise, fuck it if I get 10 negatives.
I would buzz off that, me. Helping people, definitely. Do you know what I mean? That would keep me going. And like I say, I'll have a word with Amy, bless her, when I get home.
How long did it take to write your book?
Right. I'm glad you've asked me that. So, 2 weeks. I worked with the writer, Yorkshire lad, hooked up with him. Before he got a contract, bless him, he said, let's sit down and do this book. So no notes, no diaries, no nothing. We sat down, Junction 25, M62, Holiday Inn. It's got a nice reception. They serve coffee, 10 o'clock while 3-4 every day, Monday to Friday, 2 weeks. So we sat down, we got us coffee, he put dictaphone, tell me a life story, Sam. The very last day, the Thursday night, as we were finishing on the Friday, he says, right, I need this a bit structured. And have you got this, this, and this? So the last day was structured. The rest of it, I just told my story, like I've sat with you. The thing is that I found incredible is my memory has just got better and better and better. which in some ways is not good because there's things I'm never going to forget. However, the detail and that is there. I could talk all day, mate. Do you know what I mean? I could
Better change the batteries on these cameras.
But it's right, you know.
So the book's out now. You're feeling better.
Yep.
What's the plans for the future?
I tell you what the plans are. You're going to keep in touch.
Yes.
Like Sean.
Of course.
I'm going to have a serious chat tonight with the missus, Amy. I've got to give her a shout because you know what? Prison officers' families, yeah. Families of prisoners suffer, obviously, yeah. Prison officers' families, you know, she had a dog's life. You know, there was no violence or anything like that, but she spent, Billy, my daughter, 2015, I get injured, September, I'm at home all the time. She hasn't seen me for 5 years. I'm going house at 6, coming in at 10, she's grown up. We're banging heads straight away. You know, me and the missus have had very little contact. I've done stupid amount of hours. So when I was quite ill, mentally, off work, we lived in each other's pockets for 2 years. That tests your relationship. But we are strong. Do you know what I mean? But families do suffer as well. I thought I was leaving everything at the gate when I went home. You know, Amy does a little bit in the book. It wasn't edited or anything. I give it Tony, the writer. He read it and he just put it in as it were. You know, me coming home stinking of shit. You know, she'd spend all day cleaning, cook a nice meal. I'd walk in the door, drop my clothes. She'd walk to wash her, put them in to stank of shit, and then I'd sit on settee with fucking face on all night. Do you know what I mean?
What's the hourly rate for a prison officer?
Right, prison officers, when I was in, after a period of time, you're on 29 grand. Yeah? Private sector were 22. Prison officers now, on the website, says 22 to 29. 29's experienced staff. You get 22 grand now. They get a good overtime rate, and this is not slagging anyone in retail at all. 22 grand, you know, go in a retail job, put a few hours in, you're going to come close to that. It is not worth it. It's not worth your mental health. It's not worth your family. It's not worth your relationships.
Yeah, because everybody's suffering. It's like people who go to the army, the majority of people who are homeless on the streets are ex-army. It's sad. It's sad that people...
That anyone's on the streets.
Any job, anything, there's always going to be some sort of conflict. There's always going to be some sort of negativity. But prison system, it's like war. It's like war. It's like war.
But if they don't do anything, you know, the first thing I do is sit down with a government minister. Well, we can do this, this, and this. What about a budget? Or we're going to have to cut. How can you cut budgets? The country's getting bigger. How can you cut fire, police, ambulance, and everything else? You can't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what it needs is a think tank or something, because what happens, you know, your last prison minister, your Rory, the little spit his dummy out when he didn't become prime minister, I'm going to do this, all big on TV. 6 months into the job, he's not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People come and go, and they bring their own ideas, which aren't necessarily going to work. Take it back to grassroots, you know, speak to prison officers if you want to know what to do, and people who've been in prison. Yeah? You know, I'd love to see, like, Question Time with a mixed prison officer, obviously good ones like myself. Yeah, and ex-customers just firing questions.
Yeah.
Get the ministers up there and put them on the spot.
Yeah. So everything you went through, Sam, you've learned from it, and now you want to try and motivate people and educate people.
Motivation would be fantastic, and just help people. Just, you know, if they come and talk. In my mind, if I was a billionaire, I would have a little house, like I've said. I'd have one in Wakefield. I'd have a couple in Sheffield. I'd have a couple in Leeds. Yeah, Glasgow, obviously, probably a big block of flats. But, you know, when you see some of the people you have on, they don't necessarily need professional help, a counsellor or some psychologist. Just sit down with someone like me. I'll listen. I'll tell him my experiences and try and help them that way. Do you know what I mean?
Where can people buy your book, Sam?
It's on Amazon. Kindle.
Yeah, we'll put the links
audio
on the bio,
book.
so for anybody, buy it. It's a great read, great story. Sam, for coming on today, brother, and telling your story.
Thank you
It's
very
been
much.
an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And all the best for the future.
Keep in touch.
Yeah, I will.
And, you know, we'll sort some out,
Yeah, I will. Fuck that. Delete his number, my man. Let's go, Steph. Cheers.
Thank you.